Notywala says he may be a young politician, but that his work in social activism over the past 15 years has stood him in good stead to understand the needs of especially poor communities. He claims that both the ANC-led government nationally and the DA-led government in the Western Cape continue to fail marginalised citizens.
The political establishment is rotten. The DA and the ANC governments, those are governments we need to get rid of, particularly in the Western Cape. We promise to deliver new leaders, capable leaders, ethical leaders, and leaders who care. We need to get rid of the current type of leadership that we have in the country. Many of these people are old and tired, and we need to get rid of them. Many of them steal money. We have load shedding. Eskom is broken. Transnet is broken.
Clean governance and ethical leadership have been described as imperative to tackle issues of housing backlogs, rampant crime and unemployment.
I might be a young politician, 10-month-old politician, and a young premier candidate. But I've been involved in politics, outside of political parties, but I've been involved in politics for the last 15 years of my life. And I chose to make that decision because I saw the reality on our communities. So what comes to mind to me is that I want to be there for young people and with young people.
Citizens have been urged to participate in the democratic processes and also to get involved in grassroots community issues. Angela Sobey has previously been named as Action SA's candidate, Gayton McKenzie for the Patriotic Alliance, Furlan Christians as the ACDP's, and Alan Winde as the DA's Premier candidate. The ANC in the province says it does not make an announcement on Premier candidates. Vanessa Puna, SABC News, Khayelitsha.
More on this, we're now joined by Mzansi's Western Cape Premier candidate, Axolile Notywala, and he joins us via our video link. Axolile, thank you so much for your time this evening here on SABC News. I mean, your party has entrusted you as their representative. Should you garner enough support in the Western Cape and take over, how does that make you feel, the confidence that they've given, to back you as a Premier candidate for the Western Cape?
Good evening and good evening to the viewers, and thank you, Mbadu. I think this speaks to the work that myself and the members of the Western Cape Leadership Collective have done, not only within Rise Mzansi, but also before Rise Mzansi. But also, I think, as someone who serves in the National Leadership Collective of Rise Mzansi, I have been involved from the outset, in the beginning, when we started the political party and political movement, which we launched on the 19th of April. I am grateful, and I am ready to serve and get on with the position and the candidature of the Western Cape as a Western Cape Premier for Rise Mzansi in the Western Cape.
And looking at that insert, I mean, you highlight that you've only been a politician for the past 10 months, but one would say that you're really no stranger to activism, and you say that you've been involved in activism for the past 15 years. Do you think that makes you the man for the job within your party?
Definitely. Being involved in activism means that you are involved in politics. It might not be party politics, but it means engaging with politicians. It means engaging with government and with governance. I have a long understanding of particularly what are the challenges in relation to our local government. I've worked on local government issues. I've worked on issues of water and sanitation, with particularly people living in informal settlements. I was involved in around 2012 and 2013 in the Khayelitsha Commission of Inquiry into policing. And so I understand the challenges of policing in places that have been neglected, that have been marginalized, such as Khayelitsha, such as Nyanga, such as Mitchell's Bay. And I've worked with many civil society organizations on issues of land and housing and spatial justice. So I have a huge grasp of these issues. And these are issues that myself and many others have advocated on. And we've put ideas in front of politicians. But what we've realized is that over the last, at least in relation to myself, over the last 15 years, the people who we have tried to engage with, who had been elected by South Africans, do not care and didn't take into consideration any of the proposals that have come from us and communities that we've worked with.
And you are specifically saying that, the politicians who've been in charge of the Western Cape, and you particularly point to the ANC, and you also point to the DA, and you say that they don't care about the people in the Western Cape. What makes you say that?
The African National Congress has governed the country for over 30 years, and that means they've governed in the Western Cape. The Democratic Alliance has governed in the Western Cape since 2009, so it's been 15 years now. But there's an informal settlement, and just to make an example, in Khayelitsha, that informal settlement has existed since 1987. And that informal settlement doesn't have basic services still, doesn't have water, doesn't have dignified sanitation services. These are people that still continue to use bucket toilets, an informal settlement that has existed since 1987. Therefore, this means that in that informal settlement, they have seen the governance of the ANC, and they've been failed by the ANC. They have seen the governance of the DA, and they have been failed by the DA. And this is BM section in Khayelitsha, which also had a huge fire, I think about 10 years ago, where former President Jacob Zuma visited and also made promises that he never delivered on. Many people in BM section still continue to lose their livelihoods. They lose their lives due to the fires and the floods that continue to ravage that community. This is just one informal settlement out of over 400 informal settlements that exist in Cape Town. Of course, different years. This one informal settlement is testament of the failures of the ANC government and of the failures of the Democratic Alliance.
And I mean, Axolile, you list a whole host of problems facing a number of townships in the Western Cape. And, should you come into power, come the 29th of April, what do you think needs to be prioritized? Because it seems as if you're also focusing on the townships. What needs the attention urgently in these townships that need, the lives of people in the Western Cape to be turned around?
The biggest priority, the biggest issue that affects every one of us, not only people in townships or not only people in the Cape Flats, is the issue of safety. Violent crime particularly is rife in the Western Cape. Out of the top 30 police stations with the highest rate of murder, 10 of those are in the Western Cape, and the rest of the 20 are spread across other provinces. That says something. And those 10 police stations are in Cape Town, in the city of Cape Town particularly. And that says something about the levels of gun violence, particularly illegal guns, that are just roaming around in our streets and in our communities. Gang violence, where people, particularly women, mothers and children, are terrorized and are terrified on a daily basis in communities such as West Bank, near Khayelitsha River, Mitchell's Plain, Lavender Hill, Manenberg, Mfuleni, Delft. All those communities, people are not safe. That's one of the biggest priorities for Rise Mzansi, is to make sure that we all live in safe communities. And the one thing that we want to do is to make sure that the many corrupt officers, police officers, who work with criminals and give these guns to criminals and sell these guns to criminals, those police officers must be prosecuted, and they need to be out of the police service. And we need to get rid of these illegal guns in our communities. People aren't even able to start businesses in communities such as Khayelitsha because of extortion rackets. And it is these issues that are a priority, because once there is nothing more to extort in Khayelitsha, everyone will be in trouble.
All right, Axolile, thank you so much for your time this evening here on SABC News. That is Axolile Notywala. He is Mzansi, a Western Cape Premier candidate.